Are you kidding?
Hey!
I think we need to add a little challenge here. What's up, everybody, and welcome to SeaTown Spotlight. I'm your host, Rio Barber, and today I'm sitting down with a man who has truly left his mark on the Seattle hip-hop scene. You may know his album, his first album, Book of Wizdom, with collaborations from New Balance, Nate Burleson, to his hit song, My City's Filthy, with Grinch, Fierceville, and Macklemore. Please give a warm welcome to Wizdom.
Thank you so much. What's up, y'all? What's up?
Yeah, and you know, you definitely put on for our city more than anyone I know.
Thank you.
Respect that a lot. I got my Huskies.
I love it. I know.
Shirt on. Go Dogs. We got the Apple Cup coming up.
That's right.
And for those that don't know, you actually were the on-field MC for over 3 years.
I was, yeah. So for 4 seasons, it was actually a super cool experience. Something that, because of music, I was able to do. So I absolutely loved it. You've
done a ton of events, not even just UW, also for the Seahawks.
I was actually able to connect with Doug Baldwin. He had this really cool event for his foundation where they wanted to get this community center built out in Renton. And so they had this super cool event that Sherm came out to. And this was the year that Sherm had left for the Niners too. So it was super dope that, like, to see, like, you know, those guys come together and, like, the fans. It was just a big Seattle sports love fest, and I got to be on the mic, and it was just a ton of fun.
On top of your love for sports, you also have a love for sneakers.
I do.
I hear you have a really sick sneaker collection.
Yeah.
You even got some fun ones on your feet now.
I do, yeah. These are the Nike SB Grateful Dead Dancing Bears in the yellow colorway.
And I really want to pet them.
You're more than welcome to.
Which ones are your top 3 favorites?
Ooh,
for the ones that you own.
So my favorite all time, it's a simple Nike Air Max 90 Infrared. It's a classic. It was the first colorway they did back in 1990. I fell in love with it as a 10-year-old. So it's not like this crazy exuberant pair or anything like that, but it's just a pair that, again, it's that whole nostalgic thing I love. Probably the Jordan Bred 11s. So those are the black and red Jordan 11s, which I absolutely love. The patent leather is just magnifique. And then as far as my third, I'll go with the Air Max 95 Neons. It's definitely a cultural movement. Like, there's no question about it. Like, the sneaker game is a cultural thing. And again, it ties into hip hop. Kind
of throwing it back to one of your singles since we last spoke. It features a nice little photo of you as a kid. Got the boombox.
Got the boombox.
Got the headphones.
Yes.
There you go. Yep. When did that passion for rapping really start?
Oh man. I mean, so growing up, one of the neighbor kids that I hung out with was super into rap, and he was a couple years older than me. So I fell in love with it probably at like 7 or 8 years old. Around that time, it was like LL Cool J, Beastie Boys, Ice Cube, NWA, Outkast, ATLiens. That is definitely probably my all-time favorite album ever. And that was the stuff I kind of grew up listening to. And then as I got older, I really immersed myself in the culture. It was a part of me, and I feel so lucky and blessed that I've been able to do a lot of cool things because of my love and affinity for hip hop.
Yeah, you can definitely hear that old school hip hop influence in your flow. It's awesome. And I love how you rock it so hard for Seattle in your lyrics as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you've been creating music for over 13 years, man.
It's been a minute. It's crazy because I was thinking about this actually on the way here. I recorded my first album. This was the summer of 2006. And at that time, it was just something I wanted to do just for myself, to be like, I want to do this, so I'm going to do it. And it just took on a life of itself, and it became something that led to a whole bunch of performances and future music and collaborations, and just kind of opened up this like world that I never thought I would be a part of. Being able to like say like, yeah, you know, I was part of the Seattle hip hop scene when guys like Macklemore and Grinch and the Blue Scholars were kind of starting to come up. It's such a beautiful time, and I feel so lucky and blessed to have kind of grown with those guys musically, and just kind of seeing like what's happened since then. 3 albums, an EP, mixtape, so many singles out there as well. Yeah. Taking it back to the first album there, Book of Wizdom. Yep. Tell us what was happening in life when that happened. So I connected with a couple of friends who at the time were doing beats in Seattle locally. Shouts out to Scott, Jameson, and Promo. What's up, y'all? And they just sent me like a whole bunch of beats and let me pick what I wanted. And I was like, okay, cool. And I had no idea like how to do an album. I just knew that I just wanted to record a ton of songs and have like a CD booklet where I could put like shout outs. You know, growing up with tape cassettes, I would always like take it out and like read all the inserts. I thought that was super cool. Again, it was just something that started because I loved rapping. I loved putting, you know, my thoughts on paper, and then from paper to the pen, and then from the pen to the studio, and just hearing it come out of like a speaker system. It was a drug. It was like super addicting, and it still is to this day, and I love it.
So when you were younger, do you remember what some of your first lyrics were about?
Oh man. Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. So when I was in high school, myself and Nate Burleson, who you mentioned earlier, and our other good friend Jaguna, we would sit in class and just try and like come up with different bars to like outsmart each other and who had the best bars, and you know. And so I thought, oh man, this would be so cool. We got to record how we sound. We got to record how we sound. And my friend Kevin, we went back to his house, and like he had the old school, like I think it was like a Compaq or a Dell, you know, the big gigantic computer. And he had like one of the, remember like the thin microphones with like, it was like a stick mic.
Yep.
And that's how I would literally record my first few songs. Oh, it's so bad. I still have a couple of them saved because it's kind of good to listen to put into perspective where I've come from. There was no content. It was just me trying to sound super smart and just drop all these crazy lyrics. I like that it still exists, so I can again listen to it and be like, man, I have come a far way.
Yeah, and you kind of led into my next question there. So on Book of Wizdom, you have a lot of tracks with New Balance, aka former Seahawk Nate Burleson.
Yes, sir.
And so you guys went to O'Day together, you went to high school together. I was like, y'all freestyling during gym class?
Yeah, every class.
How did that kind of come about? Because it was, you know, a little bit later after high school when you guys, when did the collaboration
so he went to Nevada, Reno to play college football. And then he was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings and was playing in Minnesota. And that's when I really had started to kind of like get that itch as far as like writing and recording. And then he had just signed with the Seahawks. And I was like, yo, are you still rapping? And he's like, yeah, bro. Like in the locker room, me and the guys will still like sit there and go back and forth. I'm like, dude, I'm doing an album. You have to get on it. And he's like, how many songs? I'm like, how many do you want? And it was super cool. We did, I think it was 3 or 4 tracks on that first album. And it was just cool because we started doing it in high school just to kind of like have fun and enjoy it. And then we got to actually like record it. And then we got to like hear it played on Kube 93, which was just like.
Speaking of that song that played on Kube 93, Put In Work, also on Book of Wizdom.
Yep.
That was you, that was New Balance Nate Burleson, and also Macklemore hopped on that, right?
Oh, sounds familiar, yeah. I think I know that guy.
Tell me what that was like working with Macklemore for the first time on that.
So actually the funny thing was way back when I first met him, so we had some mutual friends. One of them, rest in peace, Noah Davis, who actually attended O'Day for a few years, was really good friends with Ben. And so that's how I knew who he was. And at the time, I heard that he was recording artists. And I was like, well, I want to do this album. I need to find a place to record it at. And I reached out to him. I think it was on MySpace, because that was probably the thing. Which I heard is back now, by the way. Dude, super random.
That was always my favorite.
Yeah, so I hit him up on MySpace and was like, hey, I want to record this album. You know, is that something we can do? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. So I came through, recorded, God, however many songs we did, brought Nate through, which was kind of cool for like everyone to kind of meet. And it was like a super fun summer. It's like a summer that I remember vividly, because it was the first experience for me as far as like going from strictly like this hobby to like actually taking it that next step where, yeah, it wasn't like a professional thing, but it was still like well beyond, you know, sorry Kevin, but the stick mic days and the Compaq Rio computer.
Yeah. And I mean, that probably was a very special moment too, to be able to hear your song on the radio, Kube 93, first time. What did that mean to you? Man,
just all those years of listening to Kube and then actually like hearing myself on there, man, it was just like a surreal thing. I felt like it was like this out of body experience, and I'm like hovering over myself watching, and it was like so cool. You know, now that I'm older, I can look back and be like, man, I never would have thought as like a 7, 8-year-old who was listening to rap music that I would have been hearing myself on Kube 93 or performing at Capitol Hill Block Party or doing things that I just never thought was like in the cards for me. So it was like that moment for the Kube thing was like just a bucket list thing for sure.
Yeah. Do you have some favorite performances? You mentioned Capitol Hill Block Party.
Yeah, so Capitol Hill Block Party was super dope. To be honest, like a lot of the more memorable ones are the ones that weren't necessarily like the bigger shows. Like, you know, a show out in Bellingham with like a not very good crowd, but just like the fun experience of like doing the drive out to Bellingham with like your buddies and hanging out there and going to like a house party afterwards. There's actually a very funny video. I went up there with Grinch. The Blue Scholars were doing a tour and we went to this house party afterwards. And for all you guys that know Grinch, you guys know My Volvo. It's like his viral hit. And we were at this house party and this kid randomly played My Volvo and then they egged him on to actually perform it. So he performed My Volvo at a house party in Bellingham. There's video of it. It's freaking hilarious. But that kind of stuff to me is like, that's always gonna be the most fun. And that's what I think made being a part of the hip hop scene here in Seattle at that time so cool, was a lot of that stuff you never knew going into a show. You would think, oh, this is gonna be big. And then it was kind of a dud. And then you'd be like, oh, this show's gonna be kind of whack. And it ended up being like amazing. The best, So you just, they were always random.
In your mixtape, The Washington Wizard, you have an epic intro by Macklemore. And then a really loving, bro-y outro by Gio from Blue Scholars.
Shouts out my bro, Prometheus Brown.
Yep. It really was a special time for Seattle hip hop, that era in the you know, late 2000s, early 2010s as well. Talk to me about you know, where that camaraderie between all of you.
You know, I still keep in touch with a lot of those guys, Grinch in particular a lot. And we always have these discussions like, man, it's just not what it used to be. It's not what it used to be. And then we feel like, oh, those old guys on the, you know, get off my lawn. But it's not what it used to be. And I think I can say that like factually because it was a moment where all of these, you know, men and women organically were creating some dope music. The fans were like these younger, like high school age to college age kids. They were kind of growing with us from like 2009 till probably like 2013. Like I feel like any Seattle hip hop show, no matter where it was like a sellout. We would always like hang out backstage together, even if we weren't performing, like just come and support someone else. That kind of stuff to me is so cool. And it's like this moment in time that's kind of just forever crystallized. And like, and I love to kind of look in it and just kind of like remember like all the different moments. It's just really cool to see what all of these talented individuals have done musically and then also just outside of music since then.
So between all y'all, who was the biggest clown?
Oh, that's a good question. God, there's a lot of us. Man, the biggest clown, so probably my guy, Billy the Fridge, shout out Fridge. Billy the Fridge was just, him and then also shouts out my guy Type. They would do these like crazy shows where basically like they'd have random things that you normally wouldn't think would be like part of a hip hop show. So like you'd have like a donut eating contest. You would have a talent show where people were like dressing up and rapping. It was just like, they were total goofs. Type, for example, did a song where he had a music video. I think it was called Man Crush. And it's just, if you check YouTube, it's freaking hilarious. I think all of us were kind of clowns because it was just like, it was so much fun together that we would just kind of bark at one another and like clown one another and like, but those would probably be the top two, I would say.
What was like a surprising thing you found out about Macklemore or Gio?
For Gio, his love and affinity for cooking. Like him and his wife throw down.
Yeah.
If you guys have not checked out Hood Famous, what are you doing with your life? And then as far as Mac, I mean, you know, to be totally honest with you, like when I met him, he was in a dark place with addiction. He's talked about it many of times. So I thought one of the coolest things with him, I'll never forget it, it was like, he was just kind of starting to get back on track and him and Ryan had done the Versus EP. And he hit me up and he's like, hey, do you mind coming out, you know, to Cap Hill and just passing out flyers with me for the show? And I'm like, yeah, why not? And so we're literally like outside at Cap Hill passing out flyers for the Versus show. He got projectile vomited on by a random person that came outside of one of the clubs. But it was just like a really cool, like we were just talking like real life things and he was telling me like how, you know, he's trying to get his life back on track and he felt that EP was kind of the start and it obviously was. So when I think about him, I really think about that moment in particular.
And that he was so nice to someone that projectile vomited all.
I missed it. I was like,
oh, dodge that real
not
quick.
getting me with that.
And we can't forget My City's Filthy. Was that 2014, right after the
2014,
Seahawks won the Super
yes.
Bowl? That really became the anthem for Seattle. Talk to me about what that meant to all of you to get to be a part of that. Again, Grinch, Fierceville, and then Macklemore hopped on there as well.
Yeah, so the cool thing about that, so shouts out my guy D-Sane. So D-Sane from Street Level Records. At the time I was doing my last, well, not at the time because technically it is, my last full-length project, The Next Step. And I was recording at his spot, and he'd record, do the mixing and mastering, really good engineer, but he's also a super good producer. And he told me, he's like, all right, since this is gonna be your last project, I'm gonna make you a special beat. He's like, but you're not gonna hear it until I want you to hear it type of thing. And he surprised me, him and Grinch actually surprised me because I came to the studio one day and he just played it for me and I was like, oh, this beat is sick. And then I'm like, oh, Grinch's verse is sick. And then he had reached out to Mac and got the sample from the town with My City's Filthy. And man, it was such a cool, like, it was one of those like surreal moments where I was like, oh, is this really happening? Like this could actually kind of be like a pretty poppin' song once it's all, said and done. And, we're like, who else can we get on this song that we felt like kind of fit with it? And we thought Fierce from Dime Def made a lot of sense. And then we did the video for it. And it was actually right after the World Cup. So shouts out to O'Day and shouts out to my brother DeAndre Edlin because he had just finished playing in his first World Cup. And I hit him up like, yo, you want to make this cameo in this video? Mac's in it, Fierce is in it, Grinch, D-Sane, and he's like, yeah, I got you. And so we got him for like this cameo for the video too. We got Mac to roll around. Shouts out my guys, Nam Sayin, who provided the vehicles for it. It was a super fun video. And I mean, the song, man, it definitely took off. I wasn't expecting it to kind of just go like that from the jump, but it's a super cool thing to kind of just know that I have like just a small part in like this really cool Seattle hip hop history with that song. Do
you have any like fun stories from the shoot days? A behind the scenes thing?
The funniest part for me was probably, so for my part of the video, we started along Lake City Way and we were at the, was it Deja Vu or Rick's? I always forget which one. And I'm just sitting there in my car waiting to go because I had a GoPro on the car. And then there was another car that was going to be in front of me that was going to be filming. And then this guy just like comes out of the bushes and is like, hey, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, shooting a video. He's like, cool, man, you need me to be in it? Need an extra? And I'm like, nah, I think I'm good. And he literally walked back in the bushes.
Oh, and he just stayed in the bushes.
I was like, all right.
Just came out for a little bit.
Cool weirdo, all right.
All right, you never know what you're going to find in
You never know.
Going back to your EP, Bring It Back, with also the song titled Bring It Back. You talk about Gary Payton, Song Camp.
Yes.
You were also in the Sonic Skate documentary.
Yeah, I was.
So did you work for the Sonics as well during that time?
I did for one season.
But you got to be in the doc,
But I got to be in the doc. And then the cool thing was also because of that, I was able to also then I think they took one or two of my songs, Bring It Back, the one you mentioned. I think they did Never Doubt Me. Because then we did a music video for Never Doubt Me, where Sonic Skate, the guys who put that movie together, like appear in the video too, which is super dope. Yeah.
I mean, still, we need to bring them back.
we need to bring them back.
But yeah, just like in general, do you have like favorite lyrics from any of your works? You have a great way of just like hooking people in,
So a lot of, it's funny that you mentioned the sports stuff because a lot of people would give me crap because I do a lot of sports metaphors in my raps because I'm a big sports fan. So I would always want to incorporate whatever I could, not even just Seattle sports, but just sports in general into my raps. But another thing that I really pride myself on is just my writing. I like to think that I can like tell a story and to, be very vulnerable in the storytelling process, I think is super important, especially with rap music. Yeah. Again, I feel very lucky to be a guest in hip hop, and I feel very lucky that I can share and kind of like do this like self-therapy thing with it. So I think some of my favorite songs as far as like lyrical content is stuff that isn't necessarily like, My City's Filthy or Got You Numb, which are two of my more popular songs. But there's songs that I did a song called Forever with Steph Lang, who's a super dope vocalist from Canada. And it was a song that was actually based upon a kid that I coached in high school who had passed away from cancer. And that's what I love so much about being able to participate in rap music, is just getting these thoughts and feelings that I have that sometimes are just like clenched inside of me, and just kind of letting it go and letting it go free. It's a beautiful experience.
And you know what? Now you're really giving back as well. You're kind of helping mentor the next generation of rappers, poets, and artists there with the Rhythm and Poetry Club at O'Day.
Club, yeah.
How is that, you know, working with these kids?
It's so, you know, it's funny because when I started working at O'Day, a few years into it, once I was, you know, recording with Mac, and then Mac kind of blew up, like a lot of the O'Day kids were like, hey, like, you rap? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, we've heard your music. And so that's where it started. And then every year, like with freshman football, which I helped coach, some of the kids that were brave enough at the beginning of the year would always be like, hey, we heard from some of the seniors that you do music. And I would always be like, we're at football practice. They're like, oh, and I'm like, no, I'm just messing with you. And so anyways, about 5 or 6 years ago, a couple of the seniors were like, hey, we want to do this club, like where we can actually like work on, you know, like poetry, spoken word, rap, singing, just some sort of like creative writing. They're like, we need a moderator. Would you be willing to, like, you know, write up this this sheet, and then we can like present it to, you know, who it needs to go to? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I didn't think it would get approved, but it did, which I love, because I tell these guys all the time, I'm like, you guys are so lucky, because we had to do this and get detentions because we were not paying attention in class because we were sitting there writing. And I'm like, so take advantage of the time when you can. But it's super dope, like seeing these guys, because it's, in addition to, you know, like them like writing and sharing with each other, it's cool to kind of just talk about like the hip hop community and like their favorite artists and like their favorite songs, and just kind of seeing them light up when they talk about it. It's, again, because that's stuff that we would do in class when we're not supposed to. And now it's the fact that they can actually do it as like an official club that gets promoted, by the way, at the open house, which is super cool. So prospective like families can see it. I think it's a beautiful thing. And again, I wish that it was around when I was a student, for sure.
So, you know, give us some words of wisdom here. See what I did there? What's the biggest piece of advice you can give for, you know, aspiring artists?
Just be you. Like, I know that's so cliche, but you are your biggest selling point. Your experiences are unique to you. And if you don't try and be somebody else, which I think sadly a lot of times in music, people are always trying to emulate other people because that's what's popular. And I get that. But to me, like, if you are just yourself and you're vulnerable and you're open and you just share with what you're comfortable sharing with your audience, I think no matter what, you're gonna do good, because you're in it for the right reasons. And so, yeah, I mean, for people that like are really like into any sort of like, you know, verbal expression, I always encourage them to just do it. Like, don't have hesitations. Just you know, take the bull by the horns and rock with it. Yep,
that's right. So last but not least, your latest single, Breakfast Baller.
Breakfast Baller.
Fun golf song, man.
Yeah.
What really inspired that? And when did you start golfing?
Yeah, so it was just a couple of years ago. So I dabbled in golf, but I never really took it serious. I never really had my own clubs. And actually a good friend of mine opened up a virtual golf bar, or whatever you want to call it, called Back Nine out in Linwood. And they were looking to do like basically a league so they could have people come and kind of check out the place and get, you know, bring some business in. And so my other buddy was like, hey, we should do it. And I'm like, bro, I don't golf. He's like, yeah, but we'll be inside. We'll be watching the game. You can drink, you can eat. And I'm like, all right, I'll try it. Man, that bug, it bit and it has not let go. Yeah. In particular, last year with what was going on with the pandemic, it was like literally the one thing that you could do, because it's an outdoor sport, you're away from people. And so I probably got out there 40 or 50 times, just being really bad, but really enjoying it. Well, sometimes not enjoying it, but for the most part enjoying it.
The next step, that was like your final
full
album, but you're still putting out singles like once a year.
Still putting out singles, yeah.
Music, I feel it's always going to be a part of me.
It's always going to be a part of me. It's always going to be something that is just probably my biggest passion in life, to be 100%. again, you know, it's a self-therapeutic thing, and there's just, again, it's addicting. There's just something to be said for like getting in a studio and like just releasing everything from your body and just being in the moment, and then hearing it afterwards like, dang, this is dope, like I created this. It's like having babies, I guess.
Yep.
I don't have any, but that's, I guess, what it might feel like. I don't know.
Straight from the brain.
But yeah, it's something that's always going to be a part of me, and I'm always going to put out music whenever I get the itch.
Thank you so much, Wizdom, for coming on the show, sharing your stories, experiences.
Yes.
Make sure to check out Breakfast Baller, your latest single. Where can they listen to it?
You can listen to it anywhere that you stream music. So Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, MySpace, if apparently they're back again. Anywhere you listen to music, you can check it out.
What's up, y'all? We just sat down with Wizdom. We talked about his latest single, Breakfast Baller.
Yep.
We talked about his golf game. So we're gonna put you to the test now. We're gonna have a little putt-off situation here. And the goal is to, you know, get it in each one of these holes. The person that does in the fewest strokes wins. And let me tell you, I've been training since my 10th birthday at Family Fun Center. So, you know what? I think you're going down.
Fair enough. All right, well, I got a little gift for you.
Oh, no way.
Just to make this a little bit more fun.
What is this? Wow, it's fancy.
To match the fit, right?
You're the best, man. Look at this. Look at this.
I had to come bearing some sort of gift.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right.
That way I get the win.
Gotta get in the zone. Gotta test the wind.
Yeah.
We did have a windstorm yesterday.
We did.
So
it was pretty bad.
maybe the wind gods will be in my favor today. We'll see. All right, first one. Here we go. Oh no, too much, too much.
Oh!
Oh! Are you okay? Does that count? Wow, that was just beautiful. Oh my goodness. Just, what do they call those? The ace hole-in-one?
That's my Tiger fist pump. Let's go.
Let's go. Dude. Oh no, there we go.
Oh.
Are you kidding?
Hey!
I think we need to add a little challenge here because homeboy keeps just getting every single hole here. So you know what? On this one, we're gonna add a little obstacle.
All right,
a little fine cone, okay? There we go. You can't hit it straight in.
That helps.
So you gotta just tap it in.
Tap it in.
Tap it in. Just tap it in. Oh, not quite.
To quote myself from my last single, I am one of the 3-putt kings of the Northwest. So.
Oh, you know what? You're in a good spot because you missed the pine cone.
I missed the pine cone.
Yeah, this is going to be the one. I can feel it in my soul here.
I feel it too.
Oh no.
Oh, and it hit the pine cone.
I'm just causing violence.
Close one with my bag in the way.
I know.
That's okay. We're not moving obstacles here.
Ah!
All right.
Well. Really. Oh, there you go. There you go. Here, I'll even let you bag it up.
3-putt.
All right. Okay.
All or nothing. This final hole.
All or nothing. This final hole, but we have to start from over there.
Fair.
Okay?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. For all the marbles.
This is the Painter Par 4.
Yes.
Shout out to my cousin who made this putting green. Oh, do you have any rituals before you hit anything that's like?
No, I usually just go up and hit.
Yeah.
Because if I overthink it, that's when I hit bad shots.
I hear you. I hear you. Okay, I'm just gonna go for it then. Here we go.
For it.
I'm just gonna go. Are you ready? Here we go. We're going. We're going. Wait.
All right. I mean, I don't go up and hit it that fast, but.
Gosh.
Ooh, and this one's kind of tough. It's got a little downhill
Right?
slope.
There's a little bit. There's some angles here.
Let's see what I can do. Nope, that's going left.
Oh, it's a toughie, but hey, at least you're not in the bunker. Oh gosh.
Oh no! Into the OB.
Woo! Ah, beauty, man, that was a good one.
Oh,
Good game. Is that what they say?
good match.
Good match.
Let's take our hats off.
Oh, so sorry. Good match.
Good match.
Pleasure, pleasure. Make sure to check out Breakfast Baller with some latest singles there on Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, iTunes, Spotify, all
the
that.
streaming platforms. Yeah, thank you again so much for joining us on SeaTown Spotlight, and thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.